Well, if you're like a lot of folks, you love your house here in San Diego, you don't plan on moving, but you've been there a while and it's time to update and remodel. Now, there's a lot of ways that you can go about this process, but I think we've found one of the simplest and most cost-effective ways for you today with our good friend Greg Cantor from Murray Lampert Construction here, joining us to talk about design and building versus going out and hiring an architect and then bidding the job out and going through several processes. So Murray Lampert has been designing and building how long?
Since 1975, for almost 38 years.
So it's a name that folks in San Diego are very familiar with, but unless they've actually done some remodeling, they might not be familiar with the design-build concept and how that's really different than the way a lot of other folks approach this.
Right. Well, we have really sophisticated computer software, and we can actually bring clients into our office and show them on the computer what their project's going to look like. We can help pick colors and finishes, plumbing fixtures, cabinets, appliances, and all that, and minimize the surprises up front.
And here's one of these 3D renderings right here, and it's just absolutely amazing. So you customize this for somebody's individual home. You show them what their home would look like once the project's done, so that they don't have to guess and kind of wonder. Say, look, this is it.
Exactly.
And so they get an idea of the flow, the space, the design, how everything's going to work. And this is the time to make changes before you're out there pounding nails, isn't it?
Right. And most people have trouble visualizing, and so now we're showing someone what their project's going to look like ahead of time. And you know, we can get everything dialed in, all the fixtures, finishes, all the costs up front, and that way the project finishes smoothly, on time, and on budget.
Now, there might be other companies out there that bill themselves as design-build companies, and yet that might not be 100% true if they don't do everything along the way. So let's walk through the process here for a second and demonstrate how Murray Lampert actually does all of these things for folks, starting with the design right here.
Right.
A lot of folks would go to an architect.
Right.
And now architects are very, very good at what they do, but that's basically what you have in-house.
Right. We have a staff architect, and so we know pricing because we're builders, and we have the architecture in the same office. So instead of going to an independent architect, sending plans out to, say, 2 or 3, 4 different builders and trying to evaluate, and a lot of times the prices come in more than what is expected, we can handle it all up front.
Yeah, I know from building my own home, there's times when you have this design on paper, and then you take it to several different construction entities, whether it be, you know, your flooring or, you know, your window coverings or what, and you get these different prices, and you scratch your head and you go, why the difference?
Right.
It could be differences in materials, it can be differences in specifications and how they actually build this thing.
And difference in workmanship too.
And which is a huge deal that folks really, they don't really have any way to conceptualize unless they come to somebody that's been in the business for a long time that can demonstrate what it is they do. Okay, so you design things for them. The architect works through that. This saves them some guesswork down the road. Again, like I said,
Right.
when they go to subcontractors, if they decide to go through an architect.
Right, and we can work with someone's budget too. So if someone has a set-aside amount they want to invest, we can do some preliminary design work and put numbers on it and make sure that it's feasible to build.
And what's nice, the nice experience, certainly if something is going to be a little more expensive than they had planned, they can make adjustments. But what's really nice when you work with a design-build firm like Murray Lampert is you might find it's going to cost you a little less than you thought, and you can do something even nicer. And then you can make suggestions. Well, you know, still within your budget, we can get this done and this done, which
Right.
you might not have even thought about.
Right.
So it really is a nice way to go. It's a one-stop shopping. Now, once the design work is done, though, again, I had to walk a lot of my permits through when I was building my house down at the county. It can be done. It can be a little daunting, but it can be done if you decide to do that as an individual. Nice if you don't have to. Now,
Right.
do you do that for folks?
Well, we do everything, and we handle the structural design, energy calculations, submit to the city, and track it all the way through the process. And also we have a system. We have construction documents that we create, and the cities are familiar with our work. So generally, the plans go through real quick and smooth, and we get a permit in our hand.
You get down to the county looks at it, and they see Murray Lampert construction on this, and they know that they know your work, and they know that you
Right.
do things according to code. And there's kind of a risk sometimes, too, if you don't go through somebody that's really familiar with the construction process and the design process, things can be over-designed. And they can end up costing you more than they need to because somebody will err on the side of caution
Right.
when it's not necessary.
Exactly. Because engineers, you know, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat.
Sure.
And engineers can differ drastically. We have engineers that we work with all the time. They know how we build, and we can do, you know, very over what's standard, whatever California standards are. We build beyond that, but in a cost-effective way.
So, folks, I'm just going to suggest that before you do any remodeling, and again, you might not be ready to do that right now, just keep Murray Lampert in mind here when the time comes. But if you're ready right now, hey, give them a call and get the design process started and go through that whole thing and get all that out of the way before you ever even think about pounding any nails, and you know exactly what's going to happen. And you like to do it on time, don't you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. On time and on budget.
That's Murray Lampert Construction. Greg Cantor, always great to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming in once again. Now, for more information, you go to san-diego6.com, you click on San Diego Living, and we'll hook you right up with Greg and Murray Lampert.